First of all, now I just wanted to talk about sort of the football ferns. Yeah, obviously there's a good chunk of them have still travelled with you to Perth. Are you able to just sort of explain sort of why Betsy was sort of the one that sort of got to hang back and why did you decided to keep the others with the team?
Yeah, it was like I've said it about 1,000 times that it's about a bit of a jigsaw puzzle. So with Betsy, it was kind of she could not travel to Perth and be fully available for the US game, but then take no part in the rest of the camp. And we felt for her that was better for her kind of loading, but also for us. I know we will miss her this weekend, but like we saw last weekend that we coped without her. Like we've got a pretty I'm pretty happy with how the midfielders are kind of pushing each other, and so then having her fully back for Canberra rather than doing kind of a bit part like some of the others are, we felt was best. Just her physically and for us as a team. So that's kind of how we got to that conclusion. With the others, with the five, Betsy is one of the ones that is like quite a regular starter for the Ferns. You probably look at Paige as a regular starter as well. Everyone else is kind of on the fringes. So we expect that they may not get or be required to have as much game time. So we were able to manage it that they could kind of do everything, but in a really, really safe way that we're not killing them loading wise. We know that January is a bit of a tough month for us. So Dan and Susie have put together this beautiful spreadsheet. They love their spreadsheet. So they've put together a great management plan for all of the players, and the Ferns are across it and really appreciative of it. So it's been really good to be able to collaborate so clearly with the Ferns as well.
Yeah, because you've obviously had a lot of injuries this year, and I guess the fact that you are still pushing for that first win, when it sort of came to these games outside of a window, were you sort of more stricter in sort of who you wanted to keep than you might have been when this sort of idea was first sort of tossed about?
I think a little bit. It was kind of, if you want this player for this game, you can't have that, like the same player. And with Kate being injured, it was like, well, you can't flog Mac because we definitely need Mac. So we kind of had a plan A that turned into a plan kind of C, D, E. But we were always really, like me and Yetka and the medical staff have all been really kind of open, honest, and clear about wanting the players to be able to have the opportunity to represent their country, not compromising, representing the Phoenix, because the players are fully committed to that. Like Betsy was trying to figure out to the last day, like how she could still do everything, but just for her, it would have been it would have just been too hard. They would have compromised her being able to play on Wednesday as well, and then be able to play on the following Sunday. So for us, so yeah, we're pretty happy with how we've kind of managed it between ourselves, that everybody kind of leaves quite like they've managed to do a lot of what they wanted.
Yeah, and in terms of just the travel logistics, when will the players leave? And do you expect that the Ferns will even be able to play or have any involvement in that first game?
Yeah, so we get back midnight on Monday or Tuesday. That always confuses me what day that is. And they'll head into camp that afternoon. They'll do the -1 training, which is just super light, and it will be good for them to move their legs. And then kind of post our game tomorrow, we'll go back to the Ferns with recommendations of minutes. Right now, we've said limited to none. If we feel that a player could do some in that game, then we'll speak to kind of Yitka and the team about that as well, knowing that they're limited for the second game against the Ferns, so they can be available for us.
And what's is the flight? How do you get from Perth to Wellington, and how early do you have to sort of be at the airport on that Monday to get?
Yeah, so we fly out here at 8:15, and we go via Sydney, and then we've got a layover in Sydney for about 3 hours, and then we're back to Wellington.
Yeah,
So
okay.
there was an option that the players leave straight from the game and get like a midnight flight out from Perth, but which would get them into Wellington earlier on Monday. But we chose that sleep after a game, travel with the team, sleep in their own bed when we land was better for their recovery than going straight into kind of a camp where they wouldn't have slept on the plane going to Wellington, or very, very minimal, limited, broken sleep, and then kind of straight into an unfamiliar camp rather than any time at home prior. So that was kind of what we decided for them.
Yeah, okay. And so Lily's still injured. Do the football ferns want Bree? I mean, is she someone who could get? Is there a third goalkeeper they want? I mean, she's someone who seems like a logical sort of candidate.
Yeah, I feel pretty gutted for Lil. She was tracking along really nicely to be available this weekend and has had a setback with her back. So she's pretty gutted, and the Ferns we've kind of laid out to them what they can do, and should they choose to call Brie up, then we'd be supportive of that. And we agree she'd be kind of the next cab off the rank. And I think when you look at the performances she's had, especially over the last 3 games, she would be worthy of that call up to the camp. And she's great in environment. She's such a great team player, teammate, that she would thrive in an environment like the Ferns. And I know she would bring a lot of that back to us as well, which is great.
Yeah, and so with Lily, remember, like, when you first sort of spoke about the injury, it was something that you wanted to get the surgery done because you were hoping it wouldn't keep or have too much disruption for the rest of the season. So what's the sort of setback she's had, and what's the time frame of like when she could actually be back?
Yeah, so she's had a bit of her knee's feeling great, and she's had a problem with her back. So it started to flare up a little bit towards the end of the week. Unsure as to why. She's seeing the doctor on Monday. So from then I'll be able to have a clearer idea of how long she's going to be. And we're hoping it's not too long. She's kind of been through the wars a little bit and is understandably pretty gutted that it's taken this long to come back to the team, 2, missing out on the Ferns, and 3, kind of a setback from an injury that we believed was under control, but obviously a completely different injury.
Yeah, and you would have been happy, although you didn't get the win. Like, it was a good defensive performance, so close to getting a point against Western United, who having a pretty great season. So how close do you think you are to sort of getting that first win? And do you still, despite losing that game, does that give the team confidence heading into a game against Perth?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you look at kind of since Adelaide, we've done a lot of work defensively to be harder to beat. And I think that what kind of the performances are showing is there's a belief within the team that the way we want to play football, and they're kind of trusting the process that the outcome will come. We want to win every single game. We go in thinking that we can get something out of every single game, and Perth's no different. So as long as the players kind of stick with what we're doing and then keep progressing every single week like we've asked them to and like they have been, then the outcome will kind of look after itself. And I don't want the players to get too bogged down, because what we're seeing is huge progressions from still like a young and experienced team that if we'd got a point against Western United last week, that's probably a turning point in the season. And it still probably was close to being that anyway because of the performance against such a strong side. And then you see that side beat Sydney quite convincingly 2-0. So again, that kind of gives you a little bit more confidence heading into this Perth game.
Yeah, and you obviously got that draw against Western Sydney, and then they come out and pull off an upset win. Does that put more pressure on you when you ask than just sort of the one team that's now looking for the first one?
I think it puts a bit of an external pressure on. Yeah, we're trying to keep the internal pressure away. to ensure that we're sticking to what we're trying to do, that we believe in what we're trying to build here. You know, we've got a long-term vision for this team and for this club and what we want to achieve. So if we keep progressing as we are, then yeah, the outcome of points and wins is definitely something that's going to happen.
Yeah, and what is sort of the main thing you're working on in terms of just trying to create more goal scoring chances? I mean, obviously the defensive end is getting better. I guess that seems to be sort of the next step is, you know, yeah, getting some more shots on goal and then trying to get more goals as well.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting, like since the beginning of the season to now, we're creating a lot more, but I would say we're just creating kind of half chances. We're not creating quality chances. So we've talked a lot about our patience, especially in the mid to final third, in order to be able to just live with the ball a little bit longer to create a quality chance, to then have a bit more composure in the box when that chance comes to us. Like I think we're pretty dangerous on set pieces. Mickey Foster being able to use either foot is quite a weapon for us. And now it's just building on from now we feel defensively more stable when we win the ball back or when we have possession of the ball, being able to build through to create a more quality chance rather than just a hopeful one. And that's kind of been what we've talked about the last week or so.
And just a final one, did Kate end up traveling and yeah, is she able to start it if she has?
Yeah, Kate is fully available and we're very excited to have her back.
Yeah, so yeah, is she likely to come into the starting team? I mean, obviously Maurice's done well.
Yeah, Maurice has done an amazing job, and you know, Kate offers something quite different to Marisa. So we think with Kate, we can she can definitely help us with that in possession piece a little bit, whilst keeping us defensively sound. So like, yeah, right now the plan is that Kate will come straight back into the team.
All good, cool. That's all the questions I had. Obviously there were a lot there, but thanks for all that.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Phil. Just a couple from me, Nat. Obviously, this is the first time the team's travelled to Perth. How was the journey, and how do you overcome it come tomorrow?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I wonder if it is the longest away trip for a women's professional side. I reckon it's probably up there, eh? It felt long and it felt tedious at times, but the girls are in great spirits. They kind of take everything on. It felt a little bit easier than a really early morning trip that we had to Canberra. The jet lag is obviously something that is something we'll have to manage today and tomorrow, but we've got training today at the time that we'll be kicking off, so we can just, we've been like, the girls have been really good in not like wallowing in the fact that we've had to this travel, that like it's the reality. It's not an excuse. So we've asked the men some tips, and they've given us some great ones to kind of help us get through. So yeah, we're hoping it's not going to have too much of an effect on the performance. And I know the girls will be chomping at the bit to get out there today and train and deal with the heat and just get their legs moving a little bit after what was sat on the plane for a really long time.
Yeah, I take it it's warm again over there.
Yeah, definitely. Quite different to Wellington. The Wellington summer isn't helping us acclimatise.
It'll get there.
Yeah. We've done heat acclimation again though, so the girls are feeling prepared.
Brilliant.